Session title today is Smarter Outreach for Workforce Teams. So I'm going to be kind of discussing some of the ways that we help workforce development organizations, whether it's a board, job center, career center, Goodwill, all of the above, community colleges, etc. But as all of you know on the call today, we are getting hounded with budgets. Hey, we don't have money for this, layoffs, etc. We're constantly getting asked to do more with less. And we're going to be discussing some tools and some strategies today to kind of help mitigate some of that. And a little homework before we dive in here, but a little bit about myself. My name is Max Shelkoff. I've been with Engage by Sell for over 4 years now, and I really kind of lead the charge for Engage by Sell on all things workforce development. So we work again with probably 50 or 60 workforce development boards across the country, many different Goodwills. We're probably deployed in, probably 250, 300 career centers across the country. Point being is we're extremely well versed in workforce development, so you can use all of 10,000 acronyms in workforce. When you say WEO or TANF, we know what you're talking about. But we are entirely US based, which is becoming more and more important in today's kind of technology world, especially with the government contracting. And all entirely 100% human customer support on our end. We are strong believers, and if you need assistance, you should be able to get it. So, and 20 years in business, and there's some of the clients that we work with on the right side there. But before I dive in, I want to kind of rewind the clock a little bit here because we still to this day hear objections when we're talking about how to get more efficient, how we can help. And some of the objections are, hey, is texting really friendly? Mobile devices, etc., apps, all of these kinds of different things. And I always like to kind of discuss not, from an Engage by Spell perspective, but from my personal perspective. When I started my career 10, 15 years ago, I was adamantly coached, hey, you never text your customers or clients or whomever it is. You text your friends, etc. And nowadays, anymore, I would say 95, 99% of my customers say, do not email me. I will not answer it. It gets lost in the commotion that is my email box. Please text me if you want to get a hold of me. And so I really like to always start by kind of identifying that stigma around texting and just reassuring that those days have passed, right? We're all texting. All of our customers prefer to be texted. And as all of you know, in workforce development, if the tools in your toolbox is phone calls and emails for outreach, it's getting extraordinarily difficult. We all have caller ID. And so if we don't recognize that number, oftentimes we're not going to answer it, or we might let it go to voicemail and we'll listen to that voicemail when we get to it. And kind of what I discussed with email, I always pick on myself again, and this isn't a sales pitch at all. This is just reality. But I encourage all of you to look at your phones, and I hope they're not as bad as mine, but I have 49,099 unread emails in my personal Gmail, and I have no unread text messages. And that's going to be a super common occurrence for most people just because, I get 10 emails a day from Old Navy and who knows who else trying to get me to buy clothes or whatever it is. So it gets lost, right? And so text messages, kind of statistically speaking, have a 95% engagement rate. And it's kind of retraining our brain a little bit away from the email clutter. Delivery rate doesn't matter as much. It's more, or excuse me, it's open rate doesn't matter as much. As long as the text message is delivered, which has about a 95% delivery rate, you can essentially guarantee that person is going to consume whatever you send to them via text. In the apprehension of QR codes, I tend to say the only positive thing that came out of COVID is we're all super acclimated to QR codes now. Even my 83-year-old grandmother is very QR code friendly just because during those times we had to use QR codes for everything. You wanted to go see a menu, you had to do anything, you had to scan a QR code to get to it. So the general population is very, very accustomed to QR codes, and we're all familiar and very capable of scanning QR codes anymore. And one thing I really always like to touch on too is smartphones and mobile devices is kind of where our audience is, right? Whether it's for TikTok, Instagram, social media, whatever it is, we're all, especially our younger demographics, are living on our mobile devices. So it's important to start meeting people where they are, right? And that involves getting used to reaching out via text and using apps and things of that kind of nature. But the challenges and opportunities, and the big challenge I kind of hit on in the beginning here is how are we supposed to continuously do our jobs and do them better while experiencing funding cuts, staff shortages, etc. So there are tools at your disposal that can help alleviate some of those. But the big, big, big challenges here I always want to touch on is engagement. And that's kind of where the text messaging platform that I'm going to dive into and the mobile web apps come into play. But again, phone calls, emails aren't what they once were. So we need to lead the charge with some alternative means for engagement and ramp that up to the highest degree possible. And then information accessibility. So it doesn't matter what program you're kind of running, whether it's adult programs, youth programs, apprenticeships, et cetera, all of the different kind of little buckets and workforce development. A huge challenge is just information and resource accessibility. So we all have so many different resources and programs kind of spread out all over the place. And those resources might be on this website, or on paper at the Career Center, or et cetera, just kind of spread out all over the place. And what we can help you do is kind of consolidate all of those resources and make them super, super accessible for the end users, make them mobile device friendly. And also something I'm going to touch on today, because there's so much demand for it, is how to exchange documents as efficiently, as quickly as possible with your audience, because that's obviously a huge bottleneck for most organizations is, hey, I got to get these 20 forms filled out, or I got to get this registration created and distributed, etc. And I don't know or don't really have a great place to do that in a digital atmosphere. The paper shuffle, we got to stop doing that. We got to get rid of it. So something I'm going to cover today is how to more efficiently exchange documents with people, whether that's from just having them directly send it to you, or taking existing paper forms or PDFs, digitizing them, including e-signatures, making that process as streamlined and easy as possible for everybody. And while you kind of wrap that all together with a big bow, whether it be, the engagement of getting someone through a program and through a process and exchanging all those documents and providing them the resources they need, accompanying all of that is one giant bundle of amazing data that we can help provide for you, whether it's for job verification or how many interactions we had, et cetera. All of that data is obviously super important for maintaining the funding and holding ourselves accountable for our jobs. And what two core technologies can help with that, and what I'm going to be covering today, is the text messaging platform and the mobile web app platform. And with the text messaging platform, I always hear people, I always ask, hey, do you text your customer, your client base right now? And they go, yeah, we text them. Of course I do. I text them right off of here, right? But there is a lot more to texting than just picking up your cell phone and shooting your customer a text and following up, right? And one, that isn't very efficient. It's very time consuming. It's not necessarily scalable either. If we all have 30, 40, 50, 60 plus people in our caseload, conducting that follow up and those conversations on a single cell phone is very difficult. So, and I'm going to share my screen in a little bit too and kind of run through the tools. But with the text messaging platform, there's kind of three main tools inside of it. There is a mass inbound component, which is essentially a call to action, is the easiest way to think about it. And I'm sure all of you have seen one of these before, whether it was on a flyer, a billboard, etc., anywhere out and about where it had that call to action, something like, are you looking for a new career? Text jobs to XYZ phone number. And what that call to action does and provides your organization with is a really amazing tool to start building a database, right? So if someone's texts in or scans that QR code and shoots that text out, what it'll do, it'll automatically text them and say, hey, it's the Career Center in Ohio. Click here to register or click here to learn more about our programs or whatever you want that messaging to be. But what it also does, it'll simultaneously capture that person's phone number, and now you can start engaging with them and get to the root of how you can help that person. So mass inbound component. And then on the left side, there's obviously a mass text message outbound piece to this that really has kind of two main use cases. The first use case is general communication. So a couple clicks of a button, you can push out a text message that uh, has messaging, pretty straightforward, something like, hey, job fair next Friday, click here to register, those kind of general comms that you push out. And then, more importantly, in my opinion, mass communications and mass outbound for case managers. So you can easily take your existing caseload, upload it into the system, and then have your follow up conducted automatically, whether it's once a week, twice a week, once a month, whatever you want. But you can have personalized follow up go out automatically from a mass text message perspective where everyone in your caseload is receiving that text. And if I was receiving it, it'd say, hey, Max, it's, John over at the American Job Center, just checking in to see how the job search is going, right? So you can save yourself a lot of headache and a lot of time by automating some of that follow-up. And that kind of leads into the right side here, the little text chat, which is a one-on-one text message conversation portal. So what that looks like, if you do push out one of those mass communications and it says, hey, Max, it's John over at the Job Center. I'd love to help you out if you need assistance. And I can respond to that and say, hey, John, I definitely need help with my resume. And what it'll do, it'll take that conversation and kick it into a separate little queue where the case manager can have all of those one-on-one conversations and actually assist the people. And in that text portal, obviously, all of those transcripts are saved. You can jump in between conversations really quickly and easily and help people get the services and the resources they need. Okay. Now, the other tool is the mobile web app platform. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the term mobile web app, but I always like to kind of explain what it is. So we're all super familiar with the term app at this point, right? We all have 20, 30, 40 of them on our phone. And what those kind of hard downloaded apps where you had to go into the App Store and download it are called from an kind of an IT perspective is a native application. And that just means that it's hard downloaded to the device. And Engage by Cell used to build native applications, and we stopped doing it probably 5, 6, 7, maybe even longer years ago now at this point because we were getting a ton of feedback from our customers in workforce development and other uh, um, fields where it's getting extremely difficult to get individuals to hard download something to their device. So if I was the case manager and I was helping, somebody, I would have to get them on the phone and say, hey, do you have an Apple? Do you have an Android? Okay, go to the App Store. You got to download this app. That's the wrong app. You got to download this one. Make sure you keep it up to date because we're constantly changing information in there, et cetera. And it became this kind of big cumbersome process that we refer to as a download barrier. And so that's why we made the transition to the mobile web app platform. So what is it? It is a no hard download required mobile experience where it looks, feels, and acts as close to a hard downloaded native application as possible, but it's entirely web-based. So what that looks like, the user scans a QR code, boom, up pops the mobile web app where again, they can have the job boards, their hiring events, the document uploading, all of the different little bits and pieces that you need to conduct your job efficiently can all live inside of there. So scan a QR code, or it obviously pairs super duper well with the texting because you can push out a text with a little clickable link in it, and it could say, hey, Max, I'd love to help you with your resume. Click this link for me and upload it. I click that link and I can snap a photo of it or directly upload my resume in there, and then my case manager would have it instantly. So it is an entirely no hard download required experience. And a huge advantage with them beyond the no hard download required is there's no IT required to build these out. So I am not a software engineer. I am not an IT specialist by any means, and I can build these out all day. And what it looks like is just a drag and drop interface. And the kind of the analogy I use is if you can build and maintain a PowerPoint, you can build and maintain one of these. So it's super, super user friendly, and it's also very quick. So being that there is no coding required and it's entirely web-based, if you were, for example, hosting a job fair, and you wanted to build a little registration form and text out to 1,000 people, you can do that in 5 minutes or less. So you can build a quick little form for your job fair you're hosting and grab the URL to it and text it out to 1,000 people, and people will start signing up almost instantaneously. So it's no hard download required, no IT required, and it's really, really fast acting content delivery there for you. So I'd love to talk about it all day, but I would love even more to kind of show you the tools and go through them a little bit and show you some examples. So if all of you on the webinar want to take out your phones and scan this QR code, it will populate a text into your texting app that says MAX to the phone number 925-431-6822. And if you hit send on that text, you'll get a text message back saying, "Thank you for texting the Career Center. We'll keep you up to date on all career training and education opportunities." And if you don't want to use the QR code, you can obviously text the word MAX to that phone number. And I'll give everybody about 30 seconds here to do so. And then I will be sharing my screen with the actual platforms, and I'll run through some super common workforce development use cases here, just showing how you can make your life a little bit easier, a little simpler, a little bit more efficient. All right, so we're going to dive in here. All right, what you're looking at here is the back end of Engage by Sales platform from an administrative side. And we've got some different tabs up here across the top. The ones I'm going to be going over today is the text messaging, the mobile web apps, and I will briefly cover the reporting capabilities as well. But the text messaging platform kind of has three different tools and use cases in here that I discussed a moment ago, where there's a mass inbound, a mass outbound, and a one-on-one kind of conversational piece here. And you can toggle between those different tools. On the left side, we've got some different tabs, and I'll just kind of run through them quickly here in order. So what all of us just texted into is this primary keyword response. That's where that QR code comes from. And again, this is simply just a call to action to encourage an audience to text in, to opt in, to start learning more about your programs and how you can assist them, right? So, a couple of things with this keyword response, just be aware, obviously, rather than max, it would be a call to action. Usually it's the organization's name or an acronym or career or jobs or whatever it is, right? And rather than that 925 phone number, every single one of Engage by Sales customers gets a full 10-digit localized phone number with a local area code. We do that with intention because the odds of someone responding to a text message are much, much, much higher if it's a localized phone number. They recognize it, they feel comfortable with it. And what this primary keyword does, obviously, one, it gives you that call to action to include in all of your flyers, all your marketing, put it on your website, put it in your email signatures, put it anywhere and everywhere where someone has the opportunity to scan in and learn more about how you can help them. Two, it kind of identifies who you are and what the purpose of these texts are, right? Hey, it's the Career Center. Hey, it's the Workforce Board. We're going to help you get employed. We're going to help you get training or education or whatever you want that messaging to be. And third, and arguably most importantly, if you click this little see subscribers, there's all of our phone numbers. So it helps you capture those folks' phone numbers and build that database of potential program participants that you can start engaging with. Now, down below the primary keyword, real quickly, you have secondary keywords. And what this does is just a tool to help enable you to create additional call to actions. So most common is jobs or career or something like that. And I'm going to use our Texas customers as an example, but we can say something like, there's so many amazing local career opportunities near you to start your job search today. Please click here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to the Work in Texas website, which is the state-sponsored job board here. And I want to include a little call to action to lead people to that so they can start their job search. We have this little shorten URL tool that you can copy and paste any existing website or URL you have into and hit submit, and our system will automatically shorten that and make it text message friendly because obviously sometimes URLs are super long and not text friendly. And so now we've just created a whole new call to action for our folks in Texas. And if you scan this QR code, it will populate that text that says max space jobs to that same 925 phone number. And it will text you back that little text that we created. And if you click that link, it'll take you straight to the job board in Texas. So just a super common use case here is creating all these little call to actions essentially for your different programs. So adult services could have its own call to action, youth programs, apprenticeships, etc., or specific job opportunities. If you want to have a call to action for manufacturing or welding or healthcare or whatever it is. That way, when someone texts in, you have this little bucket of contacts. Hey, everybody here texted in the word welding. So I need to really target my outreach to this audience with welding or manufacturing careers because that's what they're interested in. That's what they texted in. Now, that's the inbound from kind of a mass communication standpoint. The next piece is pushing out a text. Super simple. Let's say we're hosting a job fair and we want to send out a text to our audience and say something along the lines of job fair next Friday from noon to 4 p.m. Hiring on the spot. Please bring a resume. Click here to register. And I'm going to use that same Work in Texas link just as a little hypothetical for us. But we've created our text, little preview of it here on the right side. And then step 2 is choose which list or lists you want this to go out to. I'll select the list that we're all on right now. And you can schedule these and automate your outreach as well. So in this example, if our job fair is next Friday, we want to hit them tomorrow, Friday, maybe Monday, etc., and pick what time you want it to go out and hit save, and it will automatically push that text message out based on those dates you selected. I'm going to leave it unscheduled and just hit send now. And all of us that scanned that QR code earlier just got our text. And I'm going to kind of role play for a moment here and pretend I just got that text. And I'm a job seeker and that job fair is next Friday. And I'm going to say, I need help with my resume before the job fair. And any of you who had texted in, if you want to role play as well and send a text and pretend you're just texting your case manager, that will lead us into this little conversation portal here where you can have all of those long format one-on-one conversations with folks. So I can see, hey, Max texted in. He said he needs help with his resume. And I can say, no problem, Max. Would you like to send it over or schedule an appointment to work on it together? And so I can have all of these long format conversations. To the end user, it just looks like a normal one-on-one text. I see somebody else. Where is it being held? The job fair is at 211 East Main. So I can jump in between all of these conversations and help people out. So first questions we get asked about this. Are all of these conversations saved? Of course they are. All the transcripts can easily be exported via PDF, copy and paste, Excel file, whichever flavor fits you best, but all of them are organized by date and time that that conversation happened, and you can easily archive conversations as well. So all of your past conversations are saved indefinitely. And the next question is, how do I know people are in here? So you can easily set up little automated notifications to go out either via email or text to that case manager with a little note and the link to quickly access this platform. And so you're always in the know of when people are actually in the little queue there. So quick recap again, mass inbound call to action to help you build that audience, mass outbound from both general comms and case management follow-up, and then the one-on-one conversation tool here. Managing lists and manage subscribers so you can have an infinite amount of lists. We highly recommend, and most of our workforce development clients do this, where they have a lot of different lists, different locations, different programs, different stages in the process, pre-eligibility, post-eligibility, job verification, adult services, youth programs, you name it. You're already kind of creating all those little buckets, and you can easily upload your current caseloads or audience into here as well, just via Excel file. Very simple and straightforward. Now, quickly, I'm going to cover the mobile web app platform, and I want to show you a great example here for kind of working smarter with the processes. This is for the job centers and all the WIO and TANF programs in the city of Chicago. And a huge headache for them, or rather a bottleneck of assistance that they were struggling with, is obviously all of that document exchange. So if you want to scan this QR code, I'll give you 10, 20, 30 seconds here to scan this QR code, but also they cover a lot of different common use cases inside of here. So a big advantage, not only no download required, no IT required, really fast. You don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel here. So if you have a lot of existing web-based resources, you can easily link them inside of this mobile web app and just make them super accessible in one spot for everybody. But big challenge that they had in Chicago was all of the paper intake, all of the forms that needed filled out for the WIOA programs, and they simply digitized all of their forms. So if you're thumbing around inside of here, you can click on this little WIOA assessment, and they have the intake packet instructions and the resources, etc. But if I needed to fill out the basic skill screening, I can easily fill this out on my phone and even e-sign it with my finger, hit submit, and our system will automatically generate that PDF fully filled out, formatted how you would like, and with the e-signature, and it'll email it straight to the case manager or whomever is kind of facilitating that. But again, all of these are different forms that can be easily filled out digitally on a device. They can upload, they can have their hot jobs, their training providers, their workshop calendars, their community resources for employment barriers like clothing, housing, food banks, etc. Can be easily found inside of the mobile web app. They link out Metrics Learning, which is a great online certification program. But if you click on that, it'll just redirect you straight to where you need to go. So that's a good example of kind of taking an existing resource and just making it super accessible for everybody in there. And we've also incorporated some pretty neat AI tools here. So if you needed help writing a resume to be a Amazon delivery driver, it will actually spit out the keywords that it recommends that individual include on that resume. It can actually write whole resumes, cover letters, recommend any kind of courses for a job. And these are very customizable as well. And these can look and feel a lot of different ways. I'm going to jump over to an account real quick that I can show you how you actually build content inside of here. So it's a little chilly in central Illinois today. I'm going to jump over to the U.S. Virgin Islands to make myself warm up here. But just like with the texting platform, there's some different tabs on the left side on how you can actually manage or create the content. And again, theirs has a lot of super common workforce development use cases. Front and center is their territory sponsored job board, just like Work in Texas. It's just called the Views platform. Let me jump back over here, but training resources, uploading docs, you can book appointments at the job centers inside of our mobile web app platform, even streamline that component of the process, trigger text message conversations with actual case managers, a lot of different common tools, but how you create content under this little build your pages tool. Let's say we're hosting a job fair and we want to have a little fillable form. We can drag it into the builder window and we're having our job fair registration. We want their full name, their phone number, their email, and hit save real quick. We've got our quick little job fair registration. And if you wanted to have a flyer or something like that, you can easily drag that in there. But I can grab the link to this page, go text it out to 1,000 people, and they'll start signing up. So let me delete that real quick before they call me. Here we go. But text, picture, video, audio file, fillable forms, fillable PDFs, maps, surveys, you name it, the content can be created easily by dragging and dropping inside of here. Intake forms, you can build if-then situations. Are you currently employed? Yes or no? And it will take them down a different stream of questioning to kind of make your different little buckets of contacts so they're directed and referred to the right department is super common. But a million different ways that you can use these to kind of streamline the process, do more with less essentially, and make the process as easy as possible for your program participants and your audience. But I'm going to jump back over to my slideshow real quick and leave a quick little, I know I'm a hair over time here, but any questions that anybody has, please feel free to throw them in the chat window now and I can go through them. And I'll give it a couple of minutes here to enable anybody with questions to go ahead and feel free to ask them right now. But if any of you do want to learn more about Engage by Seller, have questions, or would like to schedule a demo or learn about pricing, anything of that kind of nature, there's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. It's super simple. It's just max@engagebysell.com, or feel free to call or text me on my direct line there. But thank you again. And I wanted to just have a quick discussion on how to work smarter, more efficiently, make everybody's lives easier, not only for case managers and the actual staff, but it's all about the program participants and the customers that we're trying to serve in workforce development, help them utilize their mobile devices to make the process as easy as streamlined as possible. If anybody doesn't have any questions, I'll feel free to wrap this up here. And thank you for joining me today and happy Wednesday. I hope the rest of you have a phenomenal remainder of your week here. And always feel free to reach out to Engage by Cell if you have any mobile device needs. There are no questions. I'll go ahead and wrap it up. But thank you, everyone. Have a great day. And thanks for joining me today. Bye now.